Welcome back. Take a look at this statistic from the Federal Reserve. A new survey from the central bank says 36% of people say they're willing to work longer hours at their current jobs without a raise. I'm back with Hank Smith and Bob Dahl. What do you think this says about the labor market right here?
That's a big number, 36.
Yeah.
It says that people are still concerned about losing their jobs.
That's right.
And there aren't a whole lot of other jobs out there to jump to. It's a cautious comment about the job market this far into the recovery.
But, Bob, on a more positive sign, it also says that if you want to get ahead, you need to work longer than 9 to 5.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right.
And I think that's also part of the DNA of American workers.
There are no shortcuts. But what is it doing to wages? I mean, here we are looking at an economy that is moving forward, and we're seeing improvements, and yet the average family out there has not seen their wages move up in 7 years. Sure, because there's somebody to take that job in 3 seconds and somebody willing to work longer hours and not get paid for it.
But it's also a little contradictory because we're starting to see wage growth. Slowly, but we're starting to see it. We're also starting to see people leave their jobs much more frequently than 3 or 4 years ago. So that's a surprising number. That 36%.
Yeah, the Employment Cost Index, the widest measure of wages and benefits, is growing the fastest pace in 7 years. It's still not a big number, but it's enough to talk about.
So you are seeing wages creep up slowly but surely. But you know what? I think this also has to do with the skills gap. When I was speaking with the CEO of Walmart the other day, he told me that one of the reasons that they raised wages is because they can't find the people that they need, the right skill sets to hire to work at Walmart. So what does that tell you about the skills gap in America? You know, every CEO we're talking to or is always saying, we have jobs, we just can't find the people to fill those jobs.
That definitely exists because the economy has changed, and we haven't in a lot of ways, and that just takes time.
Yeah, and technology is changing everything. We're just talking with One Medical. Look at every industry and how technology is changing it. How does an employee today get ahead without having, being armed with the skill sets that they need to thrive in this new normal?
I think, like all of us, you have to constantly re-educate yourself and grow in what you're doing. Otherwise, you become a dinosaur.
It also argues for more effective immigration reform. We need immigrants at both the top end and at the bottom end. They are part of the fabric and the growth of this country.
These are all really big issues, but they all connect the dots. You're absolutely right. So those people who say, look, yes, I'm willing to work longer hours and I'm not going to get extra pay for it. That's not changing. That's keeping the labor market tight, even though you're seeing wages move up.
No question about it. But, to Hank's point, a lot of people are saying, the more I do, the better I do, the more opportunity I'm going to have, either at my current employer or another employer, and that's an admirable quality. You'll look for those kind of people that want to get ahead and are willing to give what it takes before the rewards come. In other words, I'll work an extra hour, maybe you'll pay me someday.
No, that's how you did it. That's how I did it.
Exactly. We just kept,
And it might also be reflective of the fact that private unionization now in this country is at the lowest level, I think, ever, or at least in modern history, post-World War II. So that 36% that are willing to work more hours for the same amount of pay is very non-union-like.
Where do you see the growth? I mean, I'm really ultimately going to where the growth in jobs, but I mean, it starts with the growth in the economy. So where do you see growth right now? If we're in a 2% grower overall, where's the outperformance?
Healthcare is growing, technology is growing. They're among the big areas. Energy is slowed, as you pointed out earlier, and when we were talking about Texas. And there aren't a whole lot of new jobs in some of the consumer areas. But the places we just talked about are fast growing.
Those industries you just mentioned require certain training.
They do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why they're paid more.
Yes.
You go work on a rig in the energy sector, this is a $90,000 a year job. You need certain training for that.
Right.
And housing is no longer a headwind, and I think as we go out 2-3 years, it's going to be more of a tailwind to this economy. The auto industry still has a ton of pent-up demand, even though we're at a 17-18 million unit run rate. The average life of a vehicle is still at a very high number, so that represents a lot of continued pent-up demand.
Yeah, the replacement area in autos has been really where the growth is in autos. I totally agree. Gentlemen, great conversation today. Thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate it. Hank Smith, Bob Dahl, we'll see you soon, guys. Have a great day.